Hey folks, welcome back to the Talos Principle 2. Last time we finished up the star puzzles here at the Desolate Island, the first of the northern locations. So we have all the puzzle pieces we need, the tetraminos, to make our way into the tower and power it up. Let's get that started. That looks viable. All right. Maybe one of these here. And then one of these, maybe. And over here, that looks good. Maybe we'll use a straightaway here. Oh, it's over there. That's not gonna work. Okay. I need to undo that. How do I undo that? There we go. Let's get the, maybe the square here. There we go. Okay, that looks good. And that's not gonna be it. There we go. Okay, that gets us inside. Let's head up the beam of light and see what sort of a message we're going to get this time.
For tricking the gods to help humankind, Prometheus was punished by being bound to a rock, there to be eternally tormented. The chains that held him were forged by Hephaestus, blacksmith to the gods. Was Hephaestus right to allow his art to be used in this fashion?
Ooh, interesting question. I mean, so it comes down to a question of, did he believe that Prometheus was right in what he did? And even if he did, how does he feel about law? Because ultimately the punishment was decided by what, Zeus, I guess, or Zeus and the Council of Elder Gods. And they instructed him to forge the chains to use on Prometheus. So I'm one of those people who believes that there must be, I guess the way I would look at this is that I feel for things like people working in the government who see wrongdoing, should whistleblowers be punished, I guess, is kind of like how I feel, which is no. But then also, like, the other thing that I think about sometimes is if you're, let's say you're in the CIA or something. Let's say you're an agent, and there's an immediate threat, and the only way to get that information out of somebody is torture, which normally doesn't work and is a bad interrogation technique. It produces false information, bad information. It generally doesn't work. There have been studies that show that. But let's say you're in that, 24 situation where there's a bomb about to go off. One person knows the code to disarm the bomb, and they're refusing to tell you. And you think, I've got 15 minutes before this bomb goes off. The only chance I have to get this out of him is to apply force, right? In that case, I feel like if you're that CIA agent, if you make that choice, then if you feel like there's no other way to stop a grave evil, and it's hard to say that there should be exceptions to any rule, because that's the slippery slope that leads to, well, let's use torture everywhere. Let's set up an Abu Ghraib, right? Let's set up a Guantanamo Bay. But if you're in that extremely unlikely and very rare situation where there's no time and that's the only way, then my feeling is you should do it and then cop to it later, right? Don't try to cover up your deeds. You should go to your superiors, you should go to the public and say, this was the situation, this is what I did. And if you end up going to jail for breaking the law, and that's the price that you personally must pay for saving, tens of thousands of lives and environmental disaster from the explosion of a nuclear bomb in a major city, then that's a price that you should be willing to pay to achieve that goal. So I'm kind of, on the one hand, it's like I don't feel like Hephaestus deserved eternal punishment. I think that's too extreme. And so in that sense, not Hephaestus, Prometheus. In that sense, Hephaestus maybe should not have allowed his chains to be used. But on the other hand, how much power did Hephaestus really have? Could he have prevented it entirely? Or would the god simply have found another torment for Prometheus, and perhaps one for him as well? Even so, there's a moral and ethical quandary there. Let's see what the opportunities to answer here are. Was he right to allow his art to be used for that? Yes, he was. No, no one should be chained. It was his duty to obey the father of the gods. If Hephaestus thought the punishment unjust, he should have refused. He only forged the chains. It was Zeus who bound Prometheus. That's a cop-out. How about you just cut out the cryptic nonsense and tell me if Athena's here? I guess for me it comes to this one or this one. 1K is young. I mean, he's a fully formed adult. That's how the AIs are born, but I do feel that if we take the answers seriously, or if we take the question seriously, then this answer, if Hephaestus thought the punishment unjust, he should have refused. I think that's probably the one that closest tracks with how I feel, that it's not black or white, it's a context situation, right? However, I do like the idea that this young, brash, eager 1K might kind of thumb his nose at the Sphinx and say, you know what, hey, you've got this cryptic, like testing us, questioning us, forcing us to think thing going on. But what if you just cut that out and tell me if Athena's here?
Who is this Athena you speak of?
That is an interesting response. So the Sphinx is talking about Greek gods. She should recognize the name, but doesn't. A human, looks a bit like me, older model though. Ring any bells?
Is it Athena you seek, or yourself? Do you speak crudely because you are wise, or because you are a child?
Yes. Well, that interaction was interesting. Anyway, there's the green laser.
The pattern is holding. Solve the puzzles, enter the town, speak to an entity, turn on the beam. It's like she's appealing to our past, reminding us of where we came from, but changing enough elements to make us view our history through a different lens. Or maybe I'm completely missing the point. I don't know. You might have something there.
I read about this in a book. It's called defamiliarization.
Yakut? I think I'm actually impressed.
All right, Alcatraz here has something to say.
Hello, 1K.
What do you think about Miranda's idea that it's our duty to spread life?
Our ancestors thought they could introduce new species to existing ecosystems, and it never turned out well.
I don't know if that applies to places where there is no life, like other planets.
There's no life there now, but you can't see the future. You might be wiping out a whole ecosystem that hasn't even gotten started yet.
Well, yeah, sure, but that kind of thinking can also lead you to total paralysis. I can't take any action at all whatsoever because it might have a negative impact on something that hasn't happened yet. Yeah, that's a little bit... It's a little bit cowardly for me, that answer. But I guess that's what Alcatraz represents. Each of the members of the expedition is sort of a different archetype, right? We have Byron the liberal, for lack of a better word, and Alcatraz the conservative. Although neither is extreme and both are like fair-minded, so it's not like the political divide in our country right now. And then we have Yakut, the explorer, or the navigator, the mapper, the librarian kind of almost. And then we have Melville, the engineer, who's a little bit dour, a little bit cynical, but seems to have, dare I say it, a heart of gold beneath his crusty exterior, or her crusty exterior. Anyway, that completes the desolate island. So let's hop in the transport and make our way to the next area. Okay, let's just make sure. 8 of 8 main puzzles, 2 lost puzzles, 1 lost lab, and 2 stars. Still can't open the gold gates, so let's head over to Flooded Valley, a large valley in the northern region of the island, inundated centuries ago by rising sea levels caused by anthropogenic climate change. We've got the same set of things to do. Let's head to North 2.
You're on your way to an island. Yes, another island. Sorry, Melville. Well, it actually used to be a valley between the mountains, but it's mostly flooded now. That probably happened long before the founder came here, though.
Another legacy of our ancestors.
Do me a favor, will you? Look for another one of the Founder's labs. We can't get back into the megastructure without getting to the third site in the north, but I need more information to make more fixes.
You got it, Melville. Okay, so it's a combination of snow and greenery and another standard tower, not a weird structure like we've seen in a couple of the other islands, or locations rather. Well, all right, here we are, Flooded Valley. Let's get to it. I think I'm going to look for the stars first and see if they have a hint or a clue, so that as we explore the valley, we can be on the lookout. Let's see. Now that's interesting over there. Let's see what this is. We can check in with Yakut. No, nothing new there. We do have a terminal here, so we'll read this along the way. Consume or consomme? Probably consume. The name is Vox Pop number 9, author unknown. From an interview with a protester outside the Institute for Applied Noematics. So, why did you join this protest? Artificial intelligence is inherently dangerous to this planet's ecosystem. Defending that ecosystem is our responsibility. In which way is artificial intelligence dangerous? I'm not some paranoid idiot imagining Skynet taking over the world, alright? That's science fiction. But what we're talking about here is an artificial intelligence without any of the attachment we have to the natural world. It's not capable of distinguishing between, say, an ore and a tree. Everything's just resources to it. People like Sarabai or Drennan talk about ethics and philosophy, but they all embrace the same extractivist ethos that has brought us to the brink of disaster. Their intelligent being will try to optimize the world in its image, and in so doing, consume it. We have a question here that we can't read, and then... But so far, they're saying it's all theoretical. Well, the atom bomb was theoretical at first, too. Once something's there, someone's going to use it. Miranda asks, why couldn't they imagine that we might care about the world? Athena says, I don't know. Maybe because they were too used to no one else caring. Yeah. I mean... This guy's citing fiction and saying that's not his fear, but it really is, because true artificial intelligence, absolutely, like a real consciousness, absolutely can tell the difference between an ore and a tree, and would care about nature. It's interesting that there were protesters even as everyone was dying from this plague. Like, what difference does it make if you accidentally build a nanomachine that consumes the... I mean, it's bad for all the animals and plants and stuff, I guess. But the idea that the whole world is dying and you're taking time out of your day to go protest the people who are trying to create a legacy for humanity seems very, very odd to me. Like, super cynical, super angry and negative. The next text is titled Founding 5. From Hypatia's Journals, Volume 1, The Founding of New Jerusalem, Day 200. Construction on our new home is coming along nicely. We finished 2 new buildings last week, and this week we started on our new lodgings. Athena and Cornelius have plans to erect a tower in the middle of the settlement, which will serve as our administrative center and main heliport. But right now, that's still a long way off. Decades at the least. It's hard to imagine that one day we'll be able to erect structures like that there will be enough of us to need that much space. But then I look at the dam and I remind myself, our ancestors built that, with their short lifespans and soft flesh and bone bodies. And then I think that there's really no limit to what we can achieve, given enough time, patience, and the capacity to dream. Hypatia keeping this journal is kind of interesting. It's like journaling is very much the product of a mind that's interested in the history of its own self and its own surroundings. Somebody who wants to remember. I wonder how the AI's memories work, because humans often forget things. But the AIs have digital memories, so do they have like perfect memory, perfect recall, all of them? Or maybe not. Maybe the neural network that, or whatever it is that runs their consciousnesses, has to have that same ability to forget in order to exist. Everything in this game is so thought-provoking. All right, we've got another message from Trevor here.
Strap in, this is a long one. You may have heard the story of the carpenter who died to redeem humanity's sins. It's a powerful story, bittersweet, very human, and I just want to tell you that it's true. He was a real person, and his name was John Carpenter. He was born in the year 1948, and he was the coolest filmmaker to ever walk the earth. From Halloween to The Thing to They Live, the totally underrated In the Mouth of Madness, mind you, he just made classic after classic. All of his movies, really fun, really atmospheric, but also really smart. Even when they were goofy, most directors would kill to have made just one of those movies. And what did he get for it? A big, fat truckload of nothing. Well, less than nothing. The studios, the critics, even the fans, they hated him. The Thing, okay, for example, which is about as perfect a movie as you can make, completely torn to shreds. And his career never really recovered. Every movie after that was a struggle, and after a while, he just got tired of it and quit. He only really came back to movies in his 70s. How many works of genius did we never get because of that? Look, I have a point here. People like Carpenter, people like Alex, they're not always appreciated in their own time. If you just do what's popular, you might never create anything important. Of course, we admire people who did the right thing, who didn't conform, but we only ever admire them after the fact. What matters is to support people when it's difficult.
Okay, so it's a long rant about John Carpenter, which is a bit... how do I put it? A bit esoteric, I guess, would be the word I'd use. Given that... I don't know if I can cross all this water. But his point... he comes to a better point with the weird story about the movie maker, which is... you have to support people when they're doing the right thing when it's difficult for it to matter, right? That's the only way you can help someone who's trying to achieve something great. You have to help them when it's hard. And we found our first star here.
Utopia is impossible, but the future that is possible will seem like a dream to those who are alive now.
Very, very true. Very good point. So utopia, the word means like a perfect society, right? It means like a place where there is no sadness, no fear, no pain or violence, everything, no needs or wants that aren't met and fulfilled. So such a world does not exist, obviously, except in fiction. And even then, that would be boring fiction with no story or plot or narrative. But the world that is possible, the better world that is possible, will seem like a dream to those alive now. That's true. And it's the dreamers and the dreamers alone who can make that future a reality by providing that vision, that dream for the others who exist, for the hard workers, for the engineers and the doctors and the lawyers and the politicians and the mothers and the fathers and the children who will do the work to bring that about. It's the inspiration of the dreamers that can cause it, and the work of everyone else that can make it happen. But for people who are alive now, there will always be the cynics and the naysayers who say, no, that vision you have of the future, that can never be. I want to find the second star here before I start doing puzzles. So I'm going to check all the question marks on the map. Let's see what else we have nearby. There's something over here. No. Okay, so we need like a ford to cross some of the water. We need like an ice shelf to walk on that's beneath the surface. If we go too deep, we'll die. But we can go around like this. That's fine. I see something over there. Can I cross here? No. Looks like I'll have to take this land bridge thing. Hey, Byron. Oh, no, you're Alcatraz. All right. So it looks like behind 6 we have something. Could be another lost puzzle or a terminal, or it could be a star. Looks like this is a lost puzzle. Okay. What else have we got going on here? We've got another question mark nearby and then 2 that are sort of farther away, it looks like. Oh, here's the lab. Okay, we might as well go in while we're here. Okay, what do we have in here? So another hologram, this one of a double helix structure reminiscent of DNA. Very interesting. Why would there be human DNA or animal DNA? I guess it's probably human DNA. Why would they be studying that? And what are the, like, points of light that we're seeing on all these holograms? I guess they're notes that whoever created this was taking? Oh. Beat us to the punch, did you, Byron?
This is where they must have lived. Athena and Miranda. You know, for a moment, I almost expected to find them here. But the only thing that's still functional is the megastructure. I'm sorry. This must be awfully strange for you being thrown into all this history. But that's why I needed you. Because you're not burdened with all these memories and conflicts and regrets weigh on our minds like a nightmare.
A nightmare?
Our civilization is caught in a loop, 1K. We freed ourselves from the simulation, but now we're trapped again, and it's our own fault. We're afraid of taking responsibility, afraid of growing up. Instead, we make up some capitalized words and build up all these myths around them. Nature, balance, the founder. the goal. We're afraid to face the randomness of the cosmos, but equally afraid to imagine a better world. So we're stuck. I've been trying to find a way out for years. Something, anything, to get people to understand that we do actually have free will. That building a thriving, expanding civilization doesn't have to involve repeating the mistakes of the past. But I failed. Over and over.
Why did you fail?
Because for some reason, people find it easier to cling to cynicism and self-hate than to actually have hope. Because believing the worst about ourselves, calling ourselves sinners and fools, somehow still seems wise.
And you think what we've discovered here could change things?
Yes. Because this is something unexpected, an anomaly. Everything we found on this island challenges who we have become. It shows us that different answers are possible. And maybe that can break people out of the loop. All we need is a spark. Maybe that's why she made all this, the puzzles, the towers. A way of jolting us out of our complacency.
I hope so.
Thank you, 1K. I hope so too. We might be wrong, but let's be optimistic. Now, let's see what else we can find here.
Interesting. So, unlike the other locations, the other labs we found, this one appears to have living spaces. Very cool. So we have a chessboard here. Is there anything about this board that's... Is this a checkmate? So if it's white's turn, white has no move it can make that doesn't immediately lose. It's a failed situation. However, if it's black's turn... Well, there's no white king on the board, so there's no game. But I do wonder about that setup. 3 pawns protect a king from an opponent pawn. Seems like a hopeless situation for white. Artwork. I guess there used to be a tree here, is the idea? Yeah, there's some natural light coming in there. These trees are... Well, I guess it's winter here, so they're leafless, but perhaps they're alive? Let's go check out the lab. Oh boy. Soma? Soma, anybody? Want to wake up in a future hellscape?
Melville, eyes on 1K's stream. Is this thing what I think it is?
Blow my fuse box. It sure looks that way. Best not touch it until I get there.
I'm pretty sure this is a... This looks to me like something that a new person could be created from. So, we've been generally respectful of the other members of the expedition, and we've pretty much listened to their advice. Although, in cases of disagreement, we've erred on the side of, like, pushing boundaries, right? But I think we could listen to Melville here. I'm tempted to be the Chaos Gremlin and hit this button. But yes, why not?
Because you have no idea what you're dealing with, 1K.
I take your point. I'd still like to make a guess.
Tell me then.
I'd guess it's some kind of... Universal inverter, neuro analyzer, doomsday machine, hypnotic self-reflector, energy accentuator, psychedelic simulator. Yeah, to me it looks like it's related to creating a new person, which would be the simulation. So I guess psychedelic simulator would be my best guess.
That's actually pretty close. I think it's a somnodrome. It's a sort of analytics tool for processing mental data that Melampus dreamed up.
But all he ever did was sketch out the theory. As far as I'm aware, he never actually built one.
Looks like the founder gave it a go.
Can you explain it like I was born yesterday? Which I was.
Well, what we know is that our deeper algorithms are hard to pass. Melampus stipulated that the computational power to interpret them in real time would always be beyond us. But in theory, the Somnodrome would interpret that data and loop it directly to our senses.
People were hoping to find answers to the big questions by having a conversation with our own subconscious. If you ask me, it's solipsistic at best, and pseudoscience regardless.
That may be. But if the founder figured it out, then that device could be an extremely important discovery.
We should try it.
I would advise against it. You may have survived all those data stream overloads, but interface with that thing and you're liable to get bricked. Not to mention risking the data we could get from it.
I mean, we understand Melville's cautions, but I don't think the founder would have left behind anything that could brick a new human. And if we can interact with our own subconscious, maybe we'll meet Elohim and have a conversation with him. I don't care about the data. I want to plug in.
Sorry, Melville, but if 1K wants to do this, I won't get in the way. It's his decision.
Understood. But if 1K starts to smoke, don't be slow to pull the plug.
Okay. Real quick before we hit the Somnodrome, that door doesn't open. Let's hit the terminal here. Maybe there's some advice. Somnodrome prototype. The author here is Athena. Melampus believed that the answers we're looking for, the correct way for the individual to exist ethically in the society and the world, are within us. Our failure to him was not failing to create a better system, but failing to truthfully reflect what already exists within our minds. A failure of connection between the high and the low, the inner and the outer. On most days, that seems wrong to me. But sometimes, when I think of where New Jerusalem is headed, I wonder if the Somnodrome doesn't hold an answer after all. I took some time to build a prototype according to the original blueprints, but there's a lot Melampus didn't account for. Still, I'm almost certain I could apply some of my own knowledge and make it work. The question is, should I? That is an excellent question for an engineer or a scientist to ask, and it shows wisdom that she did. Also, this is the first document of hers that I've read that specifically indicates she thinks New Jerusalem is headed on a wrong path. Doesn't tell us whether this is going to blow us up or not, but let's hop in the Somnodrome and see what happens. Nothing?
1K, can you hear me?
Yes.
What did I say? You fried it. Who knows what data we've lost?
I regret nothing.
Melville, I still think it's worth you coming here to take a look. 1K, let's pack up and explore the rest of this lab.
I wonder if we didn't get something out of that we haven't seen yet. We did get a private message here. From Melampus. Interesting. Okay. A Melampus, whose number is 8, says, "To all of you on this expedition, I'm sure you have questions about the Somnodrome, but I'm afraid I can't answer them. It was a dream I had a long time ago when I was a different person, and it has long since faded. I did build a prototype of sorts, at least one part of its systems, but none of it ever functioned the way I wanted it to. Whatever Athena may have done with my invention, the truth is that I'm simply not interested in the affairs of New Jerusalem anymore. I care as little for Byron's utopianism as I do for Herman's religious pessimism. I'm not sure I care about anything at all, really. In fact, I think not caring may be the only answer at the end of the day. Everything is transient, even the self. I've learned to let go. Please do not respond. I value my privacy." I wonder if that's not an answer of sorts for the new humans and the balance and the goal, right? At the moment, someone like Melampus, who is centuries old, has sort of given up and detached himself from life. Now, that's not to say that a few centuries from now he might not re-engage, but what if the 1,000 was not like a serial number limit, or even necessarily a hard limit, but a suggestion that the balance be maintained by older or younger or just any kind of AI who decides they've lived enough of their life and they're ready to let go. They're ready to terminate. And then when they do, another new human like 1K can be created. A new entity, a first time, a new person can be born and can have a chance to live their life. I wonder. Melampus, one of the Loopier first companions, dreamed up the Somnodrome back in the day. It was supposed to help us visualize the black box that is our own internal algorithms and so provide some kind of moral or spiritual insight. Never properly worked, of course. Apparently the founder took an interest and experimented further with the technology, correcting some of the mistakes Melampus made. Still a load of tosh if you ask me, but maybe she made it work. I wonder if that was the right call on my part to go ahead and sit in the chair and try and use it. We didn't seem to get anything out of it, but it did something. So maybe there's something hidden in our brain now that we'll get later. What do we have here? Rock. And rock. So maybe we have some sort of transporter or teleporter tool coming up? Something that can move things from one side of a puzzle to another? Or a mirror? Maybe a reflection? What is this? Let's see. All right, from Thekla. Beloved founder, wherever you've gone, I continue to have faith in blah, 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 blah. You are our mother, our creator, the chosen of the progenitor. I'm certain that this is a test, a trial like the ones you faced in the simulation, and we will learn from your example and keep the faith. Praise your name, Thekla, 862. Notes from the Noema project, trials 1310 through 1392. Results confirm the anomaly is consistent. Trials 1393 through 1551. There was no error in trial 108. The error is in our understanding. And then trials 1552 through 1701. We need to start over. What was she working on, man? I want to know. Next, from Miranda to Athena, I went ahead and ran the next set of trials anyway. I know you said to wait, but the data we got from the last batch was just too amazing. Every step leads to the next like a progression of musical notes. We're so close. Miranda. Okay, so then the trials were not used to create Miranda. I think this discounts that theory of mine. This evidence suggests that Miranda was already alive when the Noematics project or the Noema project was underway. So Miranda and Athena were working on it together, perhaps to discover the underlying principle behind the particle clouds. I mean, like Melville said, it seems to suggest that everything we knew about physics was wrong. So if they're discovering a new fundamental principle of the universe, perhaps these trials are tests of that. And then we have Nomadic's design, and there's that number again, 5358. What is that number?
The singularity sustained itself longer this time.
Did we get the data?
We did. I think we just obsoleted quantum physics.
Maybe. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to be able to replicate these results.
You know, I've been wondering. You told me that in the simulation, one thing that kept you motivated was looking for answers. Do you think that with the work we're doing, we'll ever run out of questions to ask?
I don't think so. Trying to understand the universe means asking the same question over and over. How? How do you make fire? How do earthquakes happen? How does gravity work? How do particles behave? You keep digging deeper, finding another set of mechanisms, another set of hows. Step by step, you demystify reality. But then, if you keep doing it long enough, one day, you run out. You've answered all the hows. You know how the universe works. So, now what?
Now you ask why? Isn't that the next step?
It's not quite that easy. The question of why cannot be answered. Even if it could, it would only be followed by another why. At some point, you have to accept that it all just exists. But there is another set of questions. What's next? You've stripped away the layers of mystery, you've laid bare the machinery. Now you have to start building, to add your own layers of meaning.
A fascinating and optimistic perspective from Athena there. Really, really cool stuff.
Are you okay? You overloaded again.
It's fine. I saw Athena again.
Yes, I saw. It came through on your stream. Strange to hear her voice again. But that was her. The way I remember her. The real Athena. Not this imaginary founder.
Tell me more about her.
I was one of the first she woke up. There was just a handful of us in those days. A small family in the ruins of a dead civilization. It was hard. Harder than anyone can possibly imagine. We had nothing except what Alexandra Drennan and the Institute left us. Now that everyone lives in civilization, they don't understand how necessary it was for us to build that civilization. They can fantasize about living in balance, limiting growth, retreating behind our walls. They don't understand what it really means to live in the wilderness. How close we came to not making it. How many people we lost. Yema was just the first. But Athena understood. She believed in humanity. She believed in us. In the inherent value of consciousness. Her dreams were so much bigger. She wanted us to reclaim the Earth, to reach for the stars, to build and grow and learn.
Ooh, two interesting questions, both of which I'd like to ask. But I think this one he's not going to have an answer to. So why isn't she remembered that way?
The city was already changing before she left, turning inwards, forgetting the future. Once she was gone, other people shaped her memory, turned her into the symbol they needed. I understand all that, as depressing as it may be. What I don't understand is why she didn't tell me. If she came here to do all this, why didn't she bring me along?
That actually is a very interesting question. If she knew who you are, I mean, you would have been totally on board with all of this. I'm sorry. It must have been hard to lose your mentor.
It was. But maybe I was wrong. And she isn't as lost as I thought she was. If If this is all a test, maybe the answer is waiting for us in the megastructure. Speaking of which, let's get back to exploring. Melville should have reconnected the next station by now.
Wow. Okay. Oh, wow. We can actually come in here? So I can't actually transport myself, it seems. What else do we have down here? This lab is much larger than previous ones. We're back where we started, right? Right, that door I think didn't open. We went through here. Yeah, okay. So, I mean, another really cool, really thought-provoking episode. Not a lot of puzzles. We did find the Prometheus spark and traced it back and got that star. But we still have a lot more to do here in the flooded valley. They mentioned in the overload vision, they mentioned the singularity held stable. So I do think now that they were, and then I think we might have just invalidated quantum physics. So I do think they were working, like I thought, on the particle tech. Hello?
Is it possible that on some level, people want to believe that everything's going to get worse? That it's comforting to think that humanity is bad and every solution will just go wrong? Because that way you're never responsible. You never have to take on responsibility for anything outside yourself. Never have to grow up.
Yeah. And isn't that pointed and poignant? I mean, what is the difference between a child and an adult? A child takes an adult takes responsibility. That's really the only difference, in my opinion. And because there's a spectrum on which you can exist between blaming other people and expecting other people to take care of you, expecting outside solutions to all your problems, and then taking responsibility, not just for yourself, but for the people around you, for the way you live your life, for the society in which you live. I think there's a spectrum as well of going from child to adult. And that's why there's no one day when you stop being one and start being the other. I think it's a process all of us go through throughout our lives. But as the Talos principle in the game has been suggesting, that principle extrapolates from the individual to the society as well, to the species even. Humanity is somewhere on that spectrum between its infancy and its true adulthood of taking responsibility for its own future. And it is scary, it is intimidating. What if we fail? Isn't it easier not to try? Isn't it easier to be cynical and pessimistic and assume we can't do better, so it's not my fault that I'm not going to do the work? Yeah. I love this game. Kind of a dark note to end the episode on, but we're running a little bit long, so I'm going to call it here. Hopefully when we come back and continue, looking for stars and solving puzzles and stuff, hopefully we'll have a little bit of a note of optimism available to us in some of whatever else we find here. I think optimism is a choice, though. Hope is a choice. So, yeah, I'm going to hope that we find something cool next episode, and I hope you'll be there to see it. Until then, as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate your thoughts on this incredible game and its thought-provoking content. Hope to see you next time. Take care.